But we can move on from the dark and dreariness of my life and move on to the dark and dreariness of your life.
It's.
Which I'll just let you take the reins here. University, not university. Yes, University of Minnesota Golden Gophers. I'm still this 7-Eleven trip. I'm not kidding. This 7-Eleven trip really fucked me up. I mean, I was just standing in there and I lost brain cells.
Do you need to vent about the 7-Eleven trip before we go into
No. I'll get really upset if I do that.
All right. Logan Cooley, after a bunch of suspense, announcing that he was in fact coming back to push for a natty at home with the Gophers with his good buddy Jimmy Snuggerud, came out today that he is officially signed to the Arizona Coyotes on his ELC. Yesterday, their account was all over the place, which, like, honestly, at the time was 50-50 for me of them just being donkeys versus there being any truth. And now it's done. So, fuck my life.
All right. That's it. That's the show.
It's brutal, dude. First, let me just say, like, this is a kid. I harbor zero ill will for his decision. Like, anyone that's freaking out and saying that he hates Minnesota or doesn't care about his teammates or any of that shit, like, calm the fuck down. Is the timing brutal? Yeah. Would have been great if he had made this decision, at the end of the season rather than now, just before August, when it seemed like the roster was pretty locked. So, yeah, that puts him in a tough spot, but the kid's agonized over this decision. He didn't want to leave, but apparently he went down and they pretty much put the sales pitch on. They very much sold/pressured him into leaving. He definitely thinks he's ready to go play in the NHL. Who am I to tell him that he shouldn't pursue that? Just a bummer that it could have been a really fun fucking year to see them make a push to win a natty in St. Paul.
So we both hate our lives.
And Jimmy Snuggerud probably hates his more. I don't know. He's got a pretty cool life, but that was just bizarre timing that right before all of that stuff was popping for the Arizona Coyotes, NHL.com drops an article about Jimmy Snuggerud, all about how he has unfinished business, coming back to the U for one more year, wants to win a natty, several references of being excited to do so with Cools, a.k.a. Logan Cooley. So just like super brutal timing for all that. But I guess first we'll talk more on the Arizona front. Is Cooley in the mix as a true Calder contender?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean,
like, it's a crazy fucking class this year.
Right. I think he's absolutely in the mix. Like we all knew how good he was when he got drafted 3rd overall. We knew he had a monster year the year before in his draft year. But I mean, this year at the University of Minnesota, he obviously was unbelievable. He was a hat trick finalist. He checked every box and took an even bigger step than I thought he would. I was curious to see if there'd be any kind of adjustment stepping into the college game there. If there was, I didn't see
the adjustment was coming from the Big Ten, not from him.
Right. So there you go. So yeah, no, he's absolutely in the mix. And I mean, he's going to have a couple good players around him too. So be curious to see what the lineup looks like. So, I mean, they had a couple of guys take big steps in Arizona last year. I mean, Michelli was a monster. Hayton took a big step, which is good for him. They bring in guys like Kerfoot, Jason Zucker. You still got Nick Schmaltz, Clayton Keller. There's some decent talent in that lineup where they're not just they still have some guys that it felt like Castaway Island, but there's some legit talent around him now. So yeah, no, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be in the mix. It's not like the Central Division either is going to be murderer's row at all. So good spot for him to be. He's going to get a ton of ice time for sure. So yeah, I think he'll absolutely be in the mix for the Calder. And I'm excited to see what that looks like for sure.
So we got Mateo chiming in. Cooley is potting 70 points.
That feels aggressive.
That's quite aggressive. What do you think is a realistic expectation to put on him?
I mean, like anywhere from like
the benchmark.
I was going to say like 50, 55 again, because I mean, yeah, he will have some talent, but it's still the Arizona Coyotes. But and I'm sure there will be a slight adjustment, obviously, going to the NHL. And but I mean, hey, he's used to playing in a college barn, so that's not going to be any kind of adjustment there.
He'll get to continue the last time he played in that rink. So
hey, do you think he actually knows that he's got like every home game? He's like, I thought I signed. I'm so confused right now.
You gotta wonder, man. Like, do you think that part of them changing his mind, like, yeah, he went to dev camp, he probably fucking torched everyone there. He's like, okay, yeah, I think I can do this. But do you think that there's more clarity behind the scenes for what the future of the franchise is? Like whether they found a new home for the year after this upcoming season, or like, I don't know. That's very speculative on my part, but I know that was one of his big concerns on why he's like, yeah, college is the route I'm going, because they don't seem to have their shit together.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I got to think they made some kind of incredible pitch. I'm sure they pitched it to him as he was a big part of them staying in, like, whatever, him being one of the centerpieces for, like finding some like a foothold and not moving. I'm sure that was he was obviously like, I'm sure the selling point was the fact that he was like the guy there. And they do have, they've added a lot of prospects, the young players, and I'm sure they're, pitching him that he'll be part of that next wave and like one of the centerpieces there. He's got Clayton Keller that's there still. There's a lot of other young guys. So I would love to know what it was that was said or pitched or what he did, whether it was just like playing with those guys at dev camp and like being around some of the guys in the NHL that made him say, all right, yeah, no, actually, you know what? I'm doing it. Like, I'm going to sign right now. I would love to, I don't know if we'll ever.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'll find out eventually, but who knows how long that'll be from now. Like, will we find what it was that made him make that decision? But I would love to know, because this is the weirdest time I've ever seen. So like, yeah, you know what? I will go to the NHL. Like, at least in terms of a big blue chip prospect. Because I mean, he was 100% coming back to Minnesota. Like, it wasn't even. I feel like the past couple of weeks, especially, it hasn't even been on the radar that he would sign. Like, I feel it was like, yeah, no, he's made his decision.
Kind of got to keep it that way.
Right? Yeah, I guess so. Out of nowhere, though. It just like really was out of nowhere. I love some breaking news, though.
Yeah, it is. But I don't have a transcript. I don't know what the sales pitch was. I've just got it under good authority from a couple of sources that they definitely sold him when he was there for dev camp. So I don't know what that involved or entailed, but I'm just sad. And again, wish him nothing but the best.
All the time. It's this warm all the time. Just like, I'm in. What if that was it? He's like, I didn't even know they had this good weather.
And like, one thing you got to wonder about too, like, he's obviously not a Minnesota boy, unlike the majority of Gophers. A lot of guys probably weren't around. Like, he's not around the team. He's not getting those vibes all summer. It's a little like maybe he's just not as sold and not as like in it as he was for the next month or so after the season, because he was still at school with all of his boys.
Yeah, I kind of wonder. I was actually right before you said that. I was kind of wondering if he was, like you said, if he was a Minnesota kid. I wonder if that added draw would have been like, yeah, no, I need to go back. Like, because I mean, he's a Pittsburgh kid, so
yeah, Pittsburgh kid that cheered for Washington, which still doesn't make much sense to me.
Wild.
You know, and I'm glad he's gone.
Yeah. You know, how do you like him? You should actually hate his guts.
Oh, fuck. All right. So then on the flip side, talking about the Gophers, like, what's the move here? Like, a lot of people are speculating about, do you convince Yzerman or Hendrickson or another guy to join early? Do you go steal Bump from Vermont now that they got that whole kerfuffle with the coach? Like, what's the move here?
I'm sure there'll be something, but I don't really know. I mean, they're still going to be a really good team. Like, you've obviously still got Snuggerud. You've obviously still got guys coming in too. Oliver Moore. You've also got Sam Renzel, the Blackhawks first round pick from 2 years ago. They're still going to be a good team. They've just obviously had some major losses here. So they're still going to be a good team. It's not like this is it, but
no, but they were basically a no shit number one team entering the season. Now they're probably a top 5 team, but they're probably not holding on to that like indisputed number one spot, right?
right. So I mean, so like again, in my head, you're still a top 5 team in the country. Being a number 1 team in the country all fucking year long didn't end up panning out anyways. Like, it's not like there's some like giant like fall from grace now where it's like, oh shit,
No.
now we're fighting.
And that's
to
not
get
what
the
it's
Frozen
about.
Four, right?
And I know
No,
you
I know
know
what you mean,
that,
though.
but it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like there's a clear drop off from being the team to you're in the shuffle for the top 5-ish, and it's just crazy that one player makes that big of a difference. But the people that think the sky is falling, like, calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
This is still a
Yeah,
sick
yeah.
team. Whether you find someone else to come in, whether that ends up being Oliver Moore for the first line center, or the fucking menace Rhett Pitlick just goes to town and him and Jimmy Snuggerud just own everybody. I'm up for any of it.
Pitlick might go nuts. Like, he might
I'm
just
so
go
excited, dude.
all the way off.
He is the only
which would
person
be
I'm happy
very
for
fun.
in this whole scenario. I hope he plays first line center, and I hope that he absolutely torches everyone, especially after they made his incredible goal against Michigan, the number 4 goal of the year in college hockey.
That was insane. Like, that goal was legitimately, I mean, that's got to be in my lifetime, like, at all levels outside of like the stupid like leagues that are getting filmed like a camcorder where like guys can't skate and someone pulls off like a Michigan goal. I don't care about those. Like, that was a top 5 goal I've ever seen. Not just because of how sick it was, but it was against Michigan, a big fucking game. And he just goes full on Showtime. Like, that was legitimately unbelievable. The fact they called it the number 4 goal of the year. Oh my God. God damn it. Damn it.
Sean Cosgrove, you know how to throw Z off of his game.
But anyways, yeah, the fact they called it the 4th best goal of college hockey this year is a disgrace.
What do we think here, Z? Does Jimmy Clark's plan change now with this news?
I wouldn't think so.
All right. Well, that was easy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he's a guy to be like, hey, do you want to come now? I don't think it would change much if his plans go back to where he's playing before. But I mean, I don't know. He could easily play, like, for sure. I wouldn't have any doubts that he could play in college hockey as early as next year. Like, I was actually surprised that he wasn't already. So who knows? Maybe. Either way, like, he's in a good spot. Like, he's either gonna go tear it up in the USHL again, or he could go and decide to end up being in Minnesota and then be more than an adequate college hockey player. I don't know if that, like, I don't think it necessarily makes a huge change in his plans, though.
And do you see an Yzerman or a Hendrickson being realistic possibilities to be pulled in early? Or is that kind of a pipe dream?
I mean, if one of them was going to, I'd probably say Hendrickson, just because he's got the year on Yzerman. Like,
yeah,
there's no reason for Yzerman to rush either. Like, that's really throwing him into a whole other element. I mean, he's certainly good enough to play, but yeah. I mean, if one of them was going to, I feel like Hendrickson would be able to kind of slide into college. You're also not expecting him to put up numbers like you're expecting Yzerman to when he goes to college. So if one was going to, I'd probably put money on Hendrickson at that point. But again, like, at the same time, like, is that the guy's like, hey, now that Logan Cooley's gone, we have to bring in, like, you know what I mean? It's like just completely different.
You just
players.
don't know what the conversation was leading into this year, where it's like, hey, there's not really a great spot for you right now. Why don't you go dominate the USHL and then come in the following year when spots open up?
Right.
Now Cooley's gone. It's like, so maybe you can come. I don't really know. That's speculation, but everyone obviously on Twitter, like
this guy's
falls on this. Like, oh, we got to make Yzerman come now. And it's like, Jess Myers has already posted, like, source from Yzerman, like, no, he will not be with the Gophers this year. I don't know if that's ideal for his development in general. I don't know that that's, like, something the Gophers want to rush him into, like you said. Like, he's good. He's going to do his thing. But Hendrickson, I think, is a very interesting option.
Yeah, for sure. He's a fucking good player, man. That was the one I was fired up when the Bruins drafted him.
Oh, I was there. I recall this.
Yes.
Got it. I mean, you think, too, he is a Minnesota boy. There is the possibility of winning a home national championship. Like, I don't know. I'm starting to, like, convince myself that Hendrickson's going to happen. We'll see.
You know, the good thing I think it's a win-win for him either way. Like, yeah. So I wonder how much, or well, a whole lot of like influence is going to come from Darby. Like, fortunately, that's a pretty good guy to have in your corner, like bounce these like ideas off of, and so I'm sure whatever decision he makes, I'm sure it'll be for good reason, and I'm sure it'll be the right one for him. But again, either go rip it up with USNTDP or go play for the University of Minnesota. Like, you can't really lose there. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
He's going to be in a pretty good spot either way. But that you're right though. That the more I think about it, that is a very interesting one. And like I said before, that would make, I think, a whole lot more sense than just throwing Cole Yzerman into college hockey at 17 years old.
We'll see.
He still breaks my brain because he's from the town over from me, and yet he ended up at Shattuck, and now he's going to Minnesota. So I feel like there's not a whole lot of guys, especially the upper echelon of like junior hockey or like youth hockey, that end up going from Boston to Minnesota and vice versa.
Very, very uncommon.
Yeah. But I mean, good for him. It worked out. It's a couple of years ago. He put up 160 points in 40 games with Shattuck. So, that'll work. Whatever. It's fine.
What's the over-under on how many times you mentioned that this year while we talk about the 2024 class?
What's funny is I bring it up like almost every time I talk about it, but I like actually do forget. And then sometimes I will, like, I just like am on his page or whatever, like cutting clips. And then like, oh yeah, I know. I've known that for such a long time. I bring it up every time I talk. That's how broken my brain is, though.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's just a funny stat line. It's like 160 fucking points. Anyway, we can move on.